Hello, Taurus and Taurus rising. Welcome to your year ahead 2018 Videoscope. Lots of changes this year. We have a Mars retrograde, a Venus retrograde in the fall, Uranus transiting into your sign for a good 8-year stay. And we also are seeing Saturn transiting through Capricorn. It works very, very well in Capricorn. It's a powerful time to build those spiritual mountains because Saturn is transiting through your ninth house for the next 2.5 years, through December 26, 2020, to be specific. And so Saturn transiting through the ninth house is going to see some of you pursuing higher education, some of you traveling more at long distances for work, some of you may get published, some of you may embark upon teaching others about a myriad of things. So focus on media, long distance travel. There may be legal situations that you have to contend with. Remember, Saturn doesn't give you anything for free like Jupiter does. Saturn's like, you put in the time and we'll bring in the results. It's kind of an even intake, outtake. And Saturn is accompanied, when it's accompanied by love and wisdom, it creates those structures and steps that really lead to development and success. Saturn is about time, it's about maturation, it's about applying wisdom. And it's astute mental abilities and dynamic energy when the person working with it is awake and evolved. The lower vibration of Saturn Capricorn is being a law unto oneself, or certainly being in a position and wanting to abuse power. Saturn Capricorn. So Saturn moved into your ninth house at the end of December 2017, where it will be transiting through 2020. And when you get past that mark, you will find that a lot has changed and developed. And you've learned a lot of lessons and you've grown. Saturn through the ninth house is also a focus on your belief systems, and perhaps some belief systems that need some retuning. On the other end of the spectrum is doggedly digging in and refusing to evolve and explore. So on the 2nd of January, Uranus turns direct as it's finishing out its transit of your 12th house at 24 degrees of Aries. So there's a push through May on awakening and epiphanies and spiritual development, because Uranus is very inspired. It's the higher mind, right? The lower mind is facts and figures and organization and linear time and, worrying and critiquing. Uranus is like the thunderbolt of inspiration and insight and aha moments. Uranus can also be disruptive. So for some of you Taurians, Uranus through the 12th house has been a bit disruptive for you with your sleeping patterns. You may have had a friend or a relative who has been confined in an unpredictable way. But Uranus through the 12th house is mining those dimensional areas that go beyond the 5 senses. And Mercury is now just catching up. It was retrograde in December 2017, and it's waking up through the month of January, but fully operational by January 11th. So outer developments and movements and plans and logistics should resume a stronger sense of normalcy after you get past the 11th of November. Mercury is also transiting through that ninth house with Saturn. So bringing awareness and thought to the areas that Saturn will really be working on and bringing skill sets and more self-mastery. Mars is transiting through your 7th house of January, so it also feels like people need you, and there's demands, and there's meetings, and the appointments, and the repairman needs to stop in. And so other people's needs and timetables kind of supersede yours during this month of January. For some of you, it can be a little bit of a contentious time with a partner or expert or someone you're interacting with. But on the 31st of January is a full moon lunar eclipse that is in response to the new moon solar eclipse that occurred, a very powerful, empowering eclipse at the end of August. This is the response to that, the full moon lunar eclipse, and this occurs in that 4th house of yours at 11 degrees of Leo. The 4th house is illuminating security needs and home and family and emotional authenticity. There may be culminations or developments around parents, family of origin, where you live, how you live, who you live with, buying and selling. And it can be moving something out of the equation, never to return again. Full moon lunar eclipses can be quite final, saying that's it, this is done. Now we're moving on to the next cycle of awareness, growth, and development. So there may be something coming to a strong conclusion in the most personal aspects of your life with this full moon lunar eclipse on the 31st of January. Now, in February 2018, now Mars is heading into your 8th house. And all the planets that head through the 8th house are asking for some shifts and some transformation and letting go of old ways of doing things, that there's an upgrade needed. So this can be connected with your ambitions, your goals, your desires, even your sexuality. This can be quite a sexual time for you, Taurus, through the second half of March, where the libido is really feeling revved. Mars through the 8th house, I often see payouts or lump sums that need to go out the door for some reason, insurance payments, tax payments. If you're purchasing or buying or selling, there may be an increased focus on debts and loans and investments. And the Sun and Mercury in February are transiting through that 10th house of yours. So there is a spotlight on your outer persona, your reputation, your work, your connection with the world out there, the public and the community. And on the 15th of February is a new moon solar eclipse. Very powerful here. And this is bringing themes of mastery with work. And you can be thrust into the spotlight at this time. And new trajectories can be coming in strongly for your life direction, and shifts and developments with that, because the new moon solar eclipse on the 15th of February occurs at 26 degrees of Aquarius. It's conjunct Mercury, which means there's travel, communications, logistics, movement, contacts involved. It's squaring Jupiter, so there's some effort required in your work with the public or partners or business liaisons. And the new moon solar eclipse is positively sextiling Uranus in that 12th house, which is speaking to epiphanies and synchronicities and things just working well. And then mid-month February, now there's a massive shift into the area of your life that has to do with goals in the future, friends, contemporaries, colleagues, the tribe. The Sun, Mercury, and the Venus by the end of February are all transiting through your Piscean 11th house of friends, groups, teamwork, future, the collective, that kind of thing. So it can be quite a social time for you as well as you're heading into February and March. And then in March, the mass exodus towards the end of the month starts shifting into that 12th house as you're finishing up a whole solar cycle, which is true for you every March, towards the third week of March, third week of April, in preparation for the new solar cycle of Taurus. So allow yourself some rest time. You may be working more in private towards the end of March, needing some rest time, downtime, a little bit more flexibility. You may be very much in contact with dimensional energy, angels, teachers, and guides, and finding that your inner life is much more exciting and terribly interesting than your external life was just last month. On the 9th of Mars, Jupiter's turning retrograde. Now, Jupiter's transiting through your 7th house, and it will be retrograde until July 10th. Jupiter in Scorpio is very much about courageousness and having a determined nature and doing battle to create transformation in human consciousness. Some of you may be working with others in a very deep and transformative way. And there can be shifts in personal belief systems with Jupiter transiting Scorpio and assisting others in their struggle to transform their own inner values. The lower vibration of Jupiter in Scorpio is rigidity and fanaticism, my way or the highway kind of energy. So people will be exemplifying varying degrees on that spectrum. But with Jupiter retrograding in the 7th, it's kind of highlighting all of your relating dynamics and archetypes with others. There may be developments with your committed relationships with clients, with the public during this period in March. And then on March 17th, Mars heads in out of that 8th house of transformation, sex, and money. And now it's focusing on the big picture and the broader horizons. Travel may be a part of the scenery now, especially mid-March through the end of April, mid-May actually. And this can be a time where you've got a lot of energy and ego, propulsion for websites and travel and legal situations and marketing and media, all a good time for that as Mars transits that 9th house from March 17th until May 17th. But then on the 22nd of March, we're seeing the first of this year's retrograde, Mercury retrograde. So Mercury, which is now transiting through that very quiet, introverted space of the 12th house, retrogrades on the 22nd of March until April 15th. And it heads back into that 11th house to reconnect with goals and dreams and connections, and then to simmer upon that as it moves direct again through that 12th house of manifestation and synchronicity and working with intention. All right, now we head into the second quarter. We begin with April. Now, April 15th, which is tax day here in the United States, Mercury turns direct at 4 degrees of Aries. That's your 11th house, Taurus. So as the externals are waking up and reconnecting with a forward feeling propulsion or momentum system, this is also bringing more clarity to the past and to your intentions and to your inner workings. It's a nice time to rest the mind a little bit. It's certainly a great time to work in private or seclusion. On the 17th of April, we're now seeing Saturn turn retrograde in that 9th house at 9 degrees of Capricorn. Saturn will be retrograde from April 17th until September 6th. Retrogrades are great because Saturn's often about our reality. It's something that's much more accessible to human beings to get in touch with and to sense what's going on in their lives. And when Saturn retrogrades, it gives you time to kind of process and integrate the changes that it has brought throughout the earlier part of this year. So now there's a time to go deeper with this process of marketing and media and travel and higher education and higher consciousness and realities in your structures. And then on the 22nd, Pluto is joining Saturn in its retrograde as he turns retrograde also in your 9th house until the end of September. So all the transformation and dimensional awakening and all of the depth insight that's been occurring. There's, again, both realities and your energetic applications now go into a period of deeper review and integration. On the 29th of April is the full moon, and that occurs in your 7th house. So there's something coming to a culmination here with partners, the public, clients. The full moon on the 29th of April occurs at 9 degrees of Scorpio. And then as we head into May, your personal new moon, happy birthday. May 15th, your new moon occurs at 24 degrees of Taurus. So this is always the time of year where the energy is with you for personal developments and kind of putting your energy out there in the quantum field or the source field and to create things. So a lot of momentum with that. Now on the 17th of May is a big date because Mars not only heads into your 10th house of Aquarius for quite a long period through November. So Mars will be transiting due to its retrograde later on, this 10th house of where you're headed in your life, of success, of ambition. It's mirroring the Saturn transit, you see, and your ego and how you go about getting what you want and your desires and how do partnerships and clients come into this and how does intimacy and sharing and psychological awareness come into this about where you're headed. Mars through the 10th house may also be bringing assertive energies with parents or authority figures. You're certainly feeling assertive and wanting to get wherever you're going. But also on the 17th of May, Uranus enters your sign. He enters Taurus, and Uranus will be transiting through your sign through July 2025, changing you, awakening you. It's important now to work with your electrical system, your body. We're electrical batteries, interfacing with an electrical and plasma-based universe. So part of this is, again, chakra work. If you haven't gotten there, I have a chakra work that is very simple and grounded that you might find helpful. But this is bringing changes to you physically, to your identity, to freedom, desires, and needs. There may be upsets and unpredictable things going on that affect you in a personal way. Often upsets and unpredictability is meant to kind of shift you off a comfortable groove. Because we know, Taurus, that you don't like a lot of change. Only when you think you're ready, but the universe is saying, no, some change is needed here. And Uranus through Taurus is about harmony through conflict sometimes, and financial shifts and changes, and necessary changes in your security patterns, changes in how you look, how you dress, how you express yourself, all part of the Uranian engagement. And this can see you working more with technology, with progressive ideas and progressive techniques, and group and equality themed pieces may be part of this Uranus transit through your first house. This can be a time of genius insights into your own talents and abilities and progressive ideals. Uranus through your first house. And this is through July 2025. In June, Mars is starting to slow down in that 10th house of where you're headed and life direction. Mars is saying we need to think about this. There is a process of gestation. There is an alchemical, biological process going on that will position you in a different way as you get into especially November of 2018. On the 26th, Mars turns retrograde at 9 degrees of Aquarius until August 28th. That isn't fully moving forward till November. So we don't have this kind of retrograde unless it is important for our evolution, for our growth, for our confidence, for our instincts, and working and utilizing with our own energetic intentions. So this will be an area, the outer direction of your life is in a period of rethinking things and shifts and changes. And on the 28th of June is the full moon in the 6th house, conjunct Saturn at 6 degrees of Capricorn. So something's coming to fruition with marketing, media, travel, publishing, education, that kind of thing. Now we head into the third quarter, which is July. And on the 10th of July, we're seeing Jupiter turning direct in that 7th house at 13 degrees of Scorpio. So there's developments now with experts that you consult with your committed relationships. There can be developments with your partner. It's a good time to consult with people who are expert in their field, lawyers, doctors, dentists, that kind of thing. Jupiter bodes well for experts, especially in that 7th house. Jupiter in the 7th house is also about people singing your praises. So you may become more well-known or more acknowledged through referral systems in a way that can be very positive for your growth and development as well. But growth and wisdom certainly is coming through your interactions with others. Now, on the 12th of July is the new moon solar eclipse. We've got a new eclipse pattern coming in. And this eclipse is occurring in the area that has to do with your mind, your self-expression, thought, writing, speaking, communications, siblings, relatives, cars, local community, neighbors, travel, trips. So this new moon solar eclipse is occurring at 19 degrees of Cancer in your 3rd house. It is opposing that Pluto in your 9th house, which is speaking about transformation and shifts and changes that you will be aware of, and opportunities for deep and transformative travels, education, experiences into the weeks and months ahead from July onward. On the 26th of July, we've got another Mercury retrograde, and this is in your 4th house at 23 degrees of Leo. So we can see where there is quite a focus on this 4th house material too. So plans and developments, communications is under a period of some review. There can be, if you've moved, a time where you're unpacking, where you're refining, where you're making plans that have to do with siblings or parents or who you live with. So there is quite a focus through August 19th, 26th to August 19th, Mercury retrograde in that fourth house. And then, as so often happens, seems like Mercury is always retrograding during eclipses, which is saying, give that left brain some time out. The soul, let the soul and the heart lead. It's very interesting because the 27th is the full moon lunar eclipse, and this occurs in that 10th house, 4 degrees of Aquarius. Something is coming in, you're out there in the spotlight, there's illumination, there's recognition, authority figure may be leaving, you may be promoted. Situations with a parent can come to fruition or culmination or a chapter ending. This full moon is conjuncting that retrograde Mars, which is tying it into partnerships and spirituality and things behind the scenes that now become obvious to you. And this full moon lunar eclipse is opposing that north node of destiny and soul and evolution, awareness of emotional growth and emotional honesty and emotional integrity. As we head into August 7th, Uranus turns retrograde in your first house at 2 degrees of Taurus. So this can be a time of personal development for you that you'll be feeling into July and into August. Epiphanies, revelations, changes, disruptions, a shift in your reality. And Uranus will be retrograde for the rest of the year. On the 19th of August, Mercury turns direct in your fourth house at 11 degrees of Leo. So certainly there is something afoot for you in the personal levels and the home and family and career levels. And on the 28th of August, Mars turns direct in that 8th house. It slipped back into in your 9th house, rather, pardon me. Mars turns direct at 28 degrees of Capricorn in your 9th house. So it's bringing along some higher perspectives, some higher dimensional awareness as it's heading back into Aquarius, where it will transit through November. So now the forward momentum of where you're going, what you're doing, success, ambition, energy, will really be moving forward once you get past August. But then what happens in September is Venus is set to retrograde. So we're being worked on the male and feminine principles. The male principle is exerting energy out into the environment, whereas which is more electrical, whereas Venus is receiving and magnetizing to her. Those are kind of the functions of the male and female principles. So Venus is more magnetic, Mars is more electrical. So Venus is slowing down in your 7th house. So now there's something here that is deepening as Jupiter's finishing its transit through your 7th. Venus wants you to take a good look at this emotional intelligence and heart and love and compassion and value in interactions with others. Things may slow down in your interactions with others. Your partner, if you have a committed partner, may not be quite as available. The two of you at the same time may go back to mine an activity or something that you've been wanting to do that you love that you haven't had time to do. So Venus is starting to slow down in that 7th house in September. On September 6th, Saturn turns direct in that 9th house at 2 degrees of Capricorn. So things, another level of movement and development with travel, foreign countries, traveling for work, education, PhDs, master's degrees, getting published, media, working, getting your name out there to a broader audience. Now resumes more external development as Saturn turns direct in September. And then on September 11th, Mars heads back into Uranus, your 10th house, where he'll be transiting through November 15th. So this is really quite a time for forward momentum, especially in things that have to do with commercial buying and selling, promotions, and the energy and the charisma to make that happen. And then on the 30th, Pluto turns direct in your 9th house at 18 degrees of Capricorn. So more developments with partnerships, with clients, with connecting with others, and transformative events with your belief systems and conscious mind. You know, the 9th house is also a house where you should be kind of developing your own religion or your own belief systems, that what resonates for you stays and what doesn't is left behind. But this certainly gives a big focus on foreign countries, foreign people, and different experiences. As we head into the fourth quarter, October 5th, Venus retrogrades. And she retrogrades in your seventh house of Scorpio at 10 degrees through November 16th. So we can see this huge focus now on your partnerships and developments with those and what you bring to the table of relating. There may be a slowing down, as I was suggesting before, in the interactions. This may be a time where you have the time as a couple to go in and do some things that you've wanted to do. This may be a time where there's some negotiation around the dynamics of your relationship. It may be a time where you thought there was a financial deal on the table and it slows down for some reason. So Venus retrogrades at 10 degrees of Scorpio, October 5th through November 16th. Mercury heads into Scorpio, though, to bring in the communications and the clarity. And on the 24th of October, dear Taurus, is the full moon in your seventh house, highlighting developments and your partner's developments. There can be a lot going on with your partner at this time that they're going through and making decisions about and grappling with. So this is a time where, they need some of your focus. That happens at 1 degree of Scorpio on the 24th. Actually, that's a full moon in your first house. Pardon me. That's a full moon in your first house on the 24th. So this is highlighting personal developments and the balance between what you want and what other people need and what they want on the 24th of October. So it's very interesting, and it is conjunct Uranus. So there can be kind of an explosive, a creative, a freedom theme, but it seems very stable because this full moon in your first house is trining up to Saturn in the 9th. So it can be an exciting time for freedom and new explorations and experiences that have to do with education, travel, media, publishing. As we head into November, we've got a whole new theme coming in where our evolution and spiritual growth has been focused on our heart, healing our heart, getting in touch with our creative selves, joie de vivre, play, making happy choices. Now that North Node is transiting on the 6th of November into Cancer, where it will be transiting through the next year and a half. Cancer is about nourishing and parenting self, parenting others. Cancer is about family, it's about home, it's about residence, it's about your emotional security. So security themes are part of your growth and development. And emotional authenticity and getting in touch with your emotions is part of your spiritual growth and cycle over the next year and a half. So November 6th, the North Node transits into Cancer, your third house of mind and communications and emotional, nurturing your self-expression, nurturing your communication skills, nurturing siblings, relatives, or in kind, maybe receiving nurturing and support from them, neighborhoods and communities. Also on November 6th, Uranus retrogrades back into your 12th house of Aries through the first quarter of 2019. So there's a going in and recapturing some of the intention and the synchronicities in your engagement with your dimensional energy. Then on the 8th of November, Jupiter is now leaving that 7th house of Scorpio, and Jupiter is heading into Sagittarius, which is your 8th house of transformation. It carries a Scorpio theme for you, actually. So it carries this flavor of transforming your psychology, your complexes, your hang-ups. Jupiter through the 8th house can be brilliant for healing, emotional healing, psychological healing. Jupiter through the 8th house can be strong for a deeper intimacy with another. Jupiter through the 8th house can be a powerful time for your nest egg and building a nest egg. But Jupiter through its home sign of Sagittarius is the fusion of that lower and that higher mind, of directing the power of thought in order to achieve goals, of ancient wisdom teachings. Jupiter in the 8th can be lighting you up, again, with some of these ancient themes that ripple through our present day awareness and epiphany and connections. It's the unified field It's spiritual aspirations. It's gaining knowledge and wisdom and learning and teaching. Jupiter through that 8th house. Jupiter will be transiting through your 8th house from November 8th through December 3rd, 2019. And then on the 15th of November's a big month. The 15th of November, Mars finally exits Aquarius and heads into your 11th house of Pisces. The work has been done, the reflection has been done, the alchemized biological process is done. Now you're free to create your future and to work with that Piscean energy of visualization and creativity. And then on the 16th of November, Mercury turns direct in your 6th house. It's retrograded back to 25 degrees of Libra. And so Venus is incorporating mind, body, responsibilities, the physical sense of touch and love. And as she heads back into your 7th house, December 2nd, there is awareness and understanding and intelligence through the cycle that you have just emerged from that has been hugely focused on all of your partnerships, associations, relationships, the public, and experts that you consult with. Mercury turns retrograde on the 16th as well. Venus turns direct, Mercury turns retrograde in your 8th house at 13 degrees of Sagittarius, where Jupiter just headed in. So Mercury is like, hold on, I need to think about things. Mars is the left brain, the lower mind. Jupiter's the higher mind, the big picture. Jupiter explores global maps. Mercury explores the town map. And so Mercury is needing some time out to go within, to review, to rethink some things with deep thoughts, intimate thoughts, financial thoughts. And then December 2nd, as I've alluded to, Venus heads back into your 7th house through the rest of the month. A lot more support and understanding and connection. On the 6th of December, Mercury turns direct also in your 7th. December is going to be a big month for development and understanding and movement with partnerships, relationships, clients. Mercury turns direct in your 7th house. And then on the 31st of December, you start the year, Mars heads into your 12th house of Aries through the mid-February time period. You're finishing a 2-year cycle that has had to do with spiritual awakening in conjunction with all of your external relationships with others. Mars through the 12th house appreciates some rest, some contemplative time, some contemplative practice, some privacy as well. A big, big year for you, Taurus. Much love to you. Namaste.